A very important theme in project management is the constraints of a project. The most popular framework to describe the constraints of a project is the iron triangle or the triple constraint. The triple constraint consists, of course, of three elements. The first one is the scope. The scope includes all the features of the project, all the work that needs to be done, all the deliverables that are part of our project. The second element is time, the deadlines. By when do we need to deliver the project? And the third element is cost, the budget of the project. How many resources are available to us? Within these three constraints, we need to achieve the desired quality of the project. Let's take an example. A government approaches a construction company and they want them to build an airport. So the representative of the government says, we want you to build an international airport big enough to serve 3 million passengers annually with a budget of $3 billion. And we want this delivered within the next 4 years. The quality of the work is constrained by the project's budget, deadlines, and scope. The project manager can trade between constraints if needed. However, changes in one constraint will necessitate changes in the others in order to compensate. Otherwise, quality will suffer. Do we have the three elements of the triple constraint in this example? We do. The scope. We need an international airport for 3 million passengers, big enough to serve 3 million passengers and fulfilling all the requirements to be an international airport. The cost. The budget is $3 billion, so we know how much money is available to us. And finally, the time. The project must be delivered in 4 years, so we know the time constraint as well. Let's see what happens if we have change requests. The government comes to us and says, we have received updated estimations for future growth in tourist arrivals. So they ask our company to build a bigger airport, big enough to accommodate 5 million passengers rather than 3. What does this mean? This means an increase in the scope of the project, 2 more million passengers annually. What should be our response? An increase in the scope of the project will result to an increase in the budget. If we have to build a bigger airport, we're going to need more resources for materials, for work. So we might have to ask for a bigger budget. Or we might ask for a delay. The project cannot be delivered anymore within 4 years. If we are building a bigger airport, this might take more time. It does not necessarily mean that we will ask for more money and more time, okay? But one of them at least will be necessary. In a different scenario, the government approaches our company and says that the economy is entering into a recession, and they would like a reduction to the budget by $1 billion. In this case, what we have is a change in the cost element of the project. The budget is now reduced. What does this mean for the other two elements of the triple constraint? We need to either reduce the scope of the project and/or increase the time of the project. We need to reduce the scope because now with less money available to us, we might not be able to build such a big airport. So we might now have to reduce the size, or we have to remove some of the features, or we might have to change some of the quality characteristics of its features. On the other hand, we might even have to increase the time. We cannot afford, for example, to have people working overtime or working 6 days a week. In that case, it will require more time to complete the project. Finally, the government comes to us and says that they would like the airport delivered 1 year earlier. For example, just before the next elections. It happens. In this case, what we have is a change in time. So the project it was meant to finish in 4 years. Now they want it finished in 3 years. What does this mean for the other two elements of the iron triangle? If they want it faster, then they might have to get it smaller. We might have to reduce the scope of the airport. We cannot do the same things in 1 year less. And they might have to pay more money. If you want it faster, then you have to devote more resources. We need to ask people to work overtime. We need to get 2, 3, 4 extra bulldozers to get things done faster. So from this example, you can see the trade-offs between the three elements of the triple constraint. Change in one of the three elements will necessitate changes in one of the other or on both. But is the iron triangle enough to assess the success of a project, to evaluate the performance of the project team? Traditionally, the iron triangle has been used not only to identify the constraints we face, but also to evaluate the performance. If a project was completed within time, under budget, and achieved the defined scope, it was considered a successful project. Today, we consider iron triangle not enough anymore. Why? There are more elements that we need to take into account. Let's assume that we built our airport within time, under budget, and meeting the desired objective, okay? Serving 3 million international passengers. However, did we realize the benefits of the project? For example, did this project contribute to increase tourism in the country or increase trade? Are the customers or the users satisfied? So 3 million passengers are traveling every year using our airport, but are they happy with the service that is provided? Are the airlines that are using the airport happy with the service we are providing with our project? Sustainability is taken into account as well. Did our project contribute to a decrease of CO2 emissions, or did it have the opposite impact? Did our project cause increased traffic congestion? Did we create waste while we were constructing the airport? Finally, did this project help our team grow? Did this project contribute to the learning in our organization? Did this project open new doors for our teams? All these factors should also be taken into consideration when we evaluate the performance of a project. So the iron triangle, yes, it's very important. It's a very important tool to understand the constraints of a project. And it's also a tool that we might take into account when we assess the performance. However, it's not enough. It should be combined with other criteria, like the ones mentioned here. Thank you.